theastrologyaddiction.com, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be on compatibility, and in the video I'm going to go through all 12 zodiac signs, and I will tell you 2 other signs that they would be most compatible with. So one of them will be the most compatible in a relationship, and the other will be the most sexually compatible. So please stay tuned if you'd like to hear about your zodiac sign. Now, number 1 is Aries, and I think the most compatible sign for them in a relationship is actually a Cancer. I found that Aries people, they are that aggressive, impulsive, and passionate, Aries, but at the same time, they can be very sensitive and they can be quite childlike, sometimes even immature. So they need to have someone around them who is sensitive, receptive, and, just really more of a nurturing figure. So they do actually do quite well with a Cancer because Cancers are the nurturing mother sign. Cancers are sensitive, they are intuitive, and they really just make the Aries feel comfortable and safe, which at the end of the day, behind the facade of their strength, they really need someone to, be there for them emotionally and help to support them in that way. Now, the most sexually compatible sign for an Aries I have found is Scorpio. Now, Aries and Scorpio are both traditionally ruled by Mars, so I find that they have a similar way of, and style of coming together, if you will. They both have somewhat of a aggressive, raw, sort of just fiery, go for it energy. And so when they get together, it can be really passionate and, really intense, especially because Aries is a fire sign and Scorpio is a water sign. So they can kind of, they, especially in the sexual side, they can get really excited and, think of fire to the stove. The stove, the water on the stove is going to bubble over. So that's sometimes what happens, and then sometimes it will fizzle out. So I usually think that these 2 signs are really good for that sexual compatibility, but maybe not so much for long term. Now for Taurus, I think the sign that they would be most compatible with in a relationship is going to be Libra. And that's because they are both ruled by the sign of, or by the planet Venus, and Taurus and Libra, they're both, they value a lot of the same things. They see things in a similar way, and they can have a similar relationship style, love language, and especially communication style. So these 2 definitely do well in long-term partnerships for that reason. Now for Taurus's most sexually compatible sign, I would say that is Scorpio, just because it is in an opposition to Taurus. So I always see these 2 getting together. If someone has a Taurus placement, they are automatically drawn to that Scorpio energy because it's in an opposition to them. So they have a natural, frustrated kind of, mysterious, attraction to one another. And sometimes it can have to do with control dynamics, power dynamics. And for them, a lot of times that is how they get their sexuality out. So it can be a great match for sexuality. And I would say that this can actually be something that can last long term also. Now for Gemini, they're most compatible in a relationship, I would say, is Sagittarius, because they are both, very curious and wanting to learn. They get bored easily, both of these signs. So when they are together, they can keep each other on their toes. These signs are also in an opposition to one another, so they're the sister signs, and they can a lot of times bring to the table in the relationship, things that the other sign doesn't really have or doesn't understand. So, Gemini can bring in that great communication and kind of excitement that the Sag needs. And the Sagittarius can bring in, the optimistic, positive, fun side that Gemini is usually looking for. So they seem to do really well together in long-term partnerships because they can keep each other satisfied for a longer time frame than normal, because usually both of these signs tend to get a little bit more bored with other people. Now, Gemini's most sexually compatible sign, I would say, is Libra. And this is because they are actually both air signs and they're in a trine to one another. I see these signs getting together a lot because Gemini sees Libra as kind of an ideal a lot of the time. They will look to the Libran and it will be someone who they can't really get easily, But once they get to know the person and once they, start to find that they have a lot of things in common, maybe they can communicate really well together, things start to balance out, and they usually actually end up having a really great harmonious harmonious, sexual compatibility. And I think this also can last in the long term as well. Now for Cancer, they're most compatible in a relationship, I would say, is Pisces. And this is because Pisces is also a water sign and also a very sensitive sign. So although they are still very different signs and they have different energy, they have a lot of things in common. So the thing that Cancers usually look for is someone who they can trust, who they have things in common with and who that they can be themselves around. So that Pisces energy usually is forgiving, it's accepting for who you are, and it's also very emotional. So those two signs can get along really well in long-term partnerships. Now, Cancer's most sexually compatible sign, I would say, is Aries. Now, they are in a square to one another, so there is a lot of natural tension, friction, attraction, and I think sometimes Cancers, like to be dominated a little bit, and they like to dominate as well. Cancer is a powerful sign. It's the sign of the ocean, So both of them, it can kind of be like a tug of war situation, and it can definitely bring in a lot of fiery passion into their romance. This, I think, can also last in the long term as well, because it's a tension that really never goes away. No matter how old the couple gets or how long they've been together, there will still always be that powerful draw to one another. Now for Leo, I think their most compatible sign in a relationship is a Taurus. This is because these two signs are in a square to one another. So again, it's very tension. There's some there's some things that they don't have in common, but at the same time, they're both fixed signs. So they have a lot of similarities in how they go about their life, how they do things, how they how they want things to be, and they can both be pretty stubborn in that. So when they get together, they're very much so this is what we like to do, this is where we like to go eat, this is what we want to, this is what we like to do, and they don't change from that. So they can support each other in that, in a way, in their fixed nature of just wanting to do what they want to do. And also I think that Taurus definitely gives Leo the compliments and the attention that they need. Taurus signs are very physical. They are very, it's ruled by Venus, so they appreciate and value the arts. They appreciate people's creativity. Taurus appreciates someone who wants to shine, and they will definitely give them the compliments and the attention that Leo really needs in a relationship. Now for Leo in their sexual partnerships, I think they would be best with a Sagittarius, and usually because these signs are both fire signs, so they're in a trine to one another, and they both have, a hot and exciting, sexual side, so they want someone who doesn't get boring and who they kind of have to chase a little bit. And usually a Sagittarius does want someone to kind of chase them and kind of, go after them. And Leos are not afraid of that. They definitely want to go after you, but they need to have it reciprocated pretty quickly, or else they will get their ego hurt a little bit. So, if that is validated, then these two can have a really hot and magnetic physical connection. But I don't typically see this lasting super long, just because they're both the fire signs, so they could kind of burn out of one another, quickly. And the Sagittarius will want more excitement, more fun, and the Leo will want more stability and security. Now for a Virgo, the sign that I see them best with in a relationship is Cancer. This is because Virgos are very sensitive and critical, and they need someone who is non-judgmental, someone who is supportive. And usually a Cancer is more, on that emotional side, more supportive, more caregiving. So they allow that Virgo to, yes, the Virgo will still be critical. They will still be a little bit nitpicky, but the Cancer gives them more space to do that without judgment. And I think these two signs can definitely build together a really beautiful life, if they get along in other ways. Now, the Virgo, I think their most sexually compatible sign would be Pisces. This is because these two signs are in an opposition. So again, there's that magnetic kind of mysterious attraction. They're sister signs, so the Virgo will not know what to expect from the Pisces, but there is always that level of attraction there. And when they do get together, the Pisces really is very, accepting, wants to merge, wants to blend, wants to try everything. And the Virgo is, Virgos can be a little bit submissive. So they play really well together when they are in that, situation with one another. Now for Libra, I think their most compatible sign in a relationship would be a Taurus. Now this is just because they are both ruled by Venus, so Libra and Taurus, they have a lot of similar values, a lot of similar, things in common, and they definitely have a lot of the same likes, wants, needs, and what have you. The Taurus also definitely gives the Libra the validation I think that it needs. Sometimes Libras really crave like material possessions to feel confident. They crave, those experiences that are luxurious, and the Taurus values those things as well. So that's where, they see eye to eye and kind of how they want their life to go and what they want to do. Now for a Libra, I think their most attractive sign sexually can be an Aries. And this is just because, again, these signs are sister signs, they are opposite. So there is a lot of natural physical pull to one another and mystery and just attraction. So they, the Libra is all about the social communication, beauty, and Aries is kind of more like the raw warrior. So it's just a really natural like connection when they get together. And it is definitely very sexual, but a lot of times, that's what it is, and they don't maybe have other things in common. Now for a Scorpio, I think the most compatible for them in a relationship would be Capricorn. These two are in a nice sextile to one another. So Scorpio is a water sign, Capricorn is an earth sign. Earth and water signs usually blend really well together. They understand each other. They understand what the other person maybe wants or needs to feel safe and secure. And usually for Capricorn, they need someone who is emotional and who helps to bring that out of them. For Scorpio, they need someone who is grounded, responsible, dedicated. And so they kind of can learn from each other really well. And the Scorpio, for their most sexually compatible sign, I would say is an Aquarius, because Scorpios want to be with someone who wants to try new things. They want to be with someone who they can push limits with and they can go to extremes with. So while there is sort of an emotional, lack with this connection, it can be really physically exciting for the Scorpio. And sometimes that is, initially very attractive, but sometimes doesn't usually lead to like long-term connection. Now for Sagittarius, their most compatible sign in a relationship, again, I think is Gemini, just because they are sister signs and they get along really well in that way. They are so different, but I think for these two signs specifically, they bring enough, Sag brings the excitement, Gemini brings the curiosity and the fun, and when they come together, they really blend really well, and they bring things to the table that the other doesn't have. So they can certainly learn a lot from one another. Now, this is a connection that I think can last in the long term and like in a long-term relationship, but it can also just be a great like teaching tool. These two can learn a lot from one another and grow with each other. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll be together for the end of time until they die, but it's a perfect relationship like for growth. Now for Sagittarius, the most sexually compatible sign for them, I think, is Leo, because Leo is also a fire sign. So these two, when they get together, there's a lot of hot passion and, intense kind of like excitement at the beginning that usually is really fun for quite some time, but it will burn out usually, just because these two signs have different needs and kind of different styles of connecting. But in the physical space, it is like a hot, natural connection physically, just depending on what else they have going on in the synastry. Now for a Capricorn, I think their most compatible sign in a relationship would be Scorpio. And go watch the Scorpio that I just talked about, and that will explain a little bit more. But these two, they're an earth and a water sign, so they mesh really well together. They can grow with one another, they can teach each other a lot of things, and they can bring things to the table that the other person doesn't have. So the Scorpio can bring that emotional, intense quality, to teach the Capricorn about, and the Capricorn brings the responsible, dedicated, hardworking, lessons to the Scorpio. So it's a great sign for long-term connection and relationships. Now for Capricorn, the most sexually compatible sign, I see them a lot of times with Virgos, because they are both earth signs and they're in a trine aspect. So they naturally, it's kind of like an easy connection for them. They have an ease about how they are physically. They're both earth signs, so they both like that physical touch. They maybe like the toys or the possessions, things like that they can use in in those intimate situations. And they like just the raw feeling of kind of the animalistic side of of compatibility in sexuality because they are both very grounded, so they want to be in the moment with you. You know, they want to like be there with you, and they want to, you know, experience everything and just kind of let go of their thoughts or let go of their, you know, whatever they're thinking, their emotions. They just want to like be fully in that moment with you. So Capricorn and Virgo definitely get along really well in that way. Now for Aquarius, their most compatible sign in a relationship, I think, is a Pisces, just because these two are, you know, they're both very understanding. They're very giving signs. They allow for one another to be very free, expressive, creative. These signs a lot of times can have higher level, like Aquarius and Pisces, a lot of times you see them being bisexual or, you know, more open to those different types of relationships. And they definitely have a natural understanding for what the other person might need. They are accepting of like unique differences. They are accepting of the unique differences that, you know, someone might have, you know, disabilities or, you know, mental things going on. They're just very accepting and caring. So you see them together a lot because they allow the other person to really be themselves and to be the, you know, unique, weird version of themselves, which definitely, you know, attributes to, you know, having a good partnership with someone, allowing the person to be who they are. And then in Aquarius, for their most sexually compatible sign, I would say is Gemini, just because they are both air signs. So they both have a kind of, you know, communicative sexuality. You know, they like to talk to each other. They like to, you know, try different things. They maybe like to have other people come in with them and join the party, you know, and just, you know, they're just less like restricting. They want to kind of try like so many different things that they're not really shy in that way. So they can definitely just get along really well when they are together in the, you know, sexually, because they both are more like less emotional. You know, they're more there for the fun and the excitement and trying something new and you know, just expanding like their horizons a little bit. They're less like, you know, emotional, and they're less wanting to actually like get deep with someone. They're more just kind of for the fun of it. Now for Pisces, the most compatible sign in relationships, I would say, is an Aquarius. And if you watch the previous, you know, me speaking about Aquarius, that will tell you a little bit more about why they are compatible. But Pisces and Aquarius, they do have a natural acceptance. They are more accepting of people. They're more allowing for someone to be who they are, to be free, and just, you know, to appreciate someone's unique qualities. So that's one reason that they definitely do get along better in relationships. They're not like restricting of one another. They're very allowing, very free, and just, you know, want the other person to be happy without holding them back. Now for Pisces, their most sexually compatible sign, I would say, is a Cancer, and this is because they are both water signs. So both of these signs have kind of a limitless, like, you know, boundaryless way about sexuality. They both don't really restrict themselves with their wants and their needs. A lot of these people have, you know, a lot of Pisces have a high level of addiction. So sometimes that can spill over into their sexuality somehow. And the Cancers, you know, when they get with them, they can both kind of have that you know, really like strong desire and high level of stamina and passion, which definitely just like meshes really well together. So it's an easy connection for them. If the Pisces is really just looking to connect with someone in that way, Cancers is always, you know, an easier like match because they have just so much in common, and especially physically, they're both just really on the same page usually with like the chemistry and everything like that. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any requests, please leave them below. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and if you'd like to book a reading with me, my link is in the description box. Have a good day. Bye.